Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to Tanya Talks Leadership. I'm your girl, Coach Tanya Lewis. I am the CEO of T&L Custom and Strategic Solutions, where we partner with executives, we partner with senior leadership teams and organizations to improve operational effectiveness through leadership empowerment, workforce development, and service excellence. And I'm glad you guys are tuning in for this conversation. Now, today we're going to be discussing something, right, that's very real, raw, and true that we see in leadership, right, when it comes to our executives, when it comes to our teams, right, and when it comes to organizations. Now, this is not going to be motivation today, right? It's all about alignment. And many organizations are not underperforming because of people. They're underperforming because leadership and systems are misaligned. And those alignment gaps exist between the executive vision, they exist between middle management execution, workforce capability, organizational performance outcomes. Look, when you see misalignment taking place, right, you're going to often see high turnover in critical roles. You're going to see reduced productivity across departments. You're going to see communication breakdowns. You're going to also see resistance to change initiatives. You're going to also see decline in service delivery standards. So today's question is, are your teams really underperforming? Or is your leadership framework misaligned with the results you expect? And that's a question you have to ask yourself. So before we dive in, I want to pose a question to the audience that's listening. Where in your organization are expectations assumed but are not clearly defined? And ask yourself another question. Are your department leaders empowered to make decisions or just held accountable for outcomes? Because I want to examine this today. Look, misalignment rarely announces itself. It just simply shows up sometimes. You can agree with that, right? It'll show up in operational bottlenecks, duplicated efforts, low ownership across teams, missed performance targets, inconsistent customer experiences, initiative fatigue at the management level. And most of the time, you guys, whether you believe it or not, these are structural alignment failures, not talent issues. So I want to give you a few solutions to that. Things to look out for, right? First thing, you got to make sure your organizational role is clear. That means you got to have clarity. You got to define outcomes and expectations in writing. You got to tie the authority and decision-making power to the results, not your emotions and what you feel. And you got to clarify what support from leadership looks like. What does it look like, right? And audience, I want to ask you this question. How many of your managers, and be honest, how many of your managers are currently operating without written success metrics? Valid question, right? And ask yourself this question. Would two leaders in the same role define success the same way today? I want you to think about those two questions. The next thing you can do, you need to take time to align responsibility with authority. Stop simply holding leaders accountable for outcomes they cannot influence. Give them decision-making power and access to the right tools. Right? So audience, I want to pose another question for you. Are you holding leaders accountable for results they don't have the authority to influence? And what decisions must currently be escalated that could be decentralized? You have to ask those questions. The third tip I want to give you today, make sure you are evaluating your training infrastructure, leaders, executives, organizations, so that you can quickly identify capability gaps versus performance gaps. so that you can take time to ensure leadership coaching and structured training exist. And so I want to pose to my audience, these are some things I want you to think about. Are performance issues showing up because of capability or because of training gaps? And when was the last time, leader, your leadership team received structured development support? And what does that look like? And the fourth thing, take time to institutionalize feedback channels. So very, very important. Believe it or not, safe spaces for upward feedback and process improvement is very critical to your organization. Take time to encourage problem-solving discussions without fear of blame. If they don't fear that you're going to blame them or target them or discriminate against them, right, retaliate against them, they'll be more open to give you honest, upward feedback to improve the processes that you have in place in your organization. So audience, I want to pose some more questions to you. Do your teams feel safe identifying process failures without fear of reprisal? Valid question. And where is operational friction being discussed? If it's being discussed at all. And the fifth thing I want to give you, take time to align culture with leadership behavior. Listen, leadership actions must reflect organizational values because the behavior defines the culture more than the mission statements. And I want to pose a question to you, audience, the ones that aren't listening, the ones that are going to go back and hear the replay. Ask the questions. Does your leadership behavior reflect the values outlined in your mission statement? Or is your organizational culture being modeled or merely marketed? You have to ask yourself those questions. And also, what shift in your organization if alignment was treated as a strategic priority rather than a personal responsibility? What would shift in your organization actually if alignment was treated as a strategic priority rather than a personal responsibility? I pose that question to you. Listen, executive leadership is not just about directing work. It's about designing systems and culture where performance is sustainable, measurable, and aligned with your mission. And it's time to start healing what's misaligned. It's time to start empowering leadership capacity. It's time to start improving workforce performance. And most importantly, aligning strategy with execution. Because alignment is what turns potential into measurable results. Look, you guys, I thank you guys for tuning in and joining me for Tanya Talks Leadership under the Lewis Effect. Make sure you share this. Make sure you tune in. Mark your calendar. Stay tuned. Put your alerts up so you'll be able to catch the next episode of Tanya Talks Leadership. Look, you guys, it's been great. I'll see you next time. Y'all have a good day.